All right, let's jump right into this explainer. What if I told you that by taking just $5 a day, literally the cost of your morning coffee, and investing it starting at age 20, you could be sitting on over $1 million by the time you retire? Sounds insane, right? Almost too good to be true. I mean, we're totally conditioned to think that building massive wealth requires some sort of, monumental life event or absolute genius. But honestly, the reality is way quieter and far more accessible. Today, we're breaking down the mechanics of the millionaire machine, and specifically how compound interest quietly creates millionaires.
Now, to really get this wealth building machine, we first have to talk about what it definitively is not. Because when we think about making $1 million, our brains naturally jump to the extremes, right? We picture winning the lottery, hitting it big on some wild crypto run, or getting a secret stock tip that just skyrockets overnight. But listen, this kind of wealth, it doesn't come from luck. It doesn't come from going viral. It comes from this remarkably boring, invisible force that the wealthy have been using for centuries. It's a strategy that totally ignores all the noise and the hype.
So, the actual mechanism behind all this is compound interest. This is the exact force that quietly turns regular, hardworking people into literal millionaires, all running in the background of their totally normal lives. It's kind of like a two-step engine. Step one, your money goes to work and earns interest. Simple enough. But step two, and wow, this is where the magic actually happens. That past interest you just earned, it stays in the account and starts earning its own interest. Your money makes money, and then that new money makes even more money. It's a continuous, exponential growth cycle. And if you're wondering just how common this path to wealth actually is, well, look at this number. 8 out of 10. A massive study of self-made millionaires in America found a seriously shocking data point. 8 out of 10 of these millionaires did not inherit their money. No trust funds, and they didn't start tech companies that IPO'd for billions either. They were just regular employees. We're talking teachers, engineers, middle managers. People who simply worked their normal jobs and did one specific thing consistently over a long period of time. They just let their money compound. To really wrap our heads around how this works, think about the snowball effect. Picture yourself standing at the very top of a huge snowy hill, right? And you're holding this tiny little snowball. You pack it tight and give it a push. As it starts rolling down, at first, it barely looks like it's growing. It's just picking up a super thin, almost invisible layer of snow. But as it keeps rolling, its surface area expands, and because it's bigger, it actually grabs snow at a way faster rate. By the time that once tiny snowball reaches the bottom of the hill, it's not a snowball anymore. It is a massive, unstoppable boulder. Let's actually break down the math here to see the snowball in action. Let's say you invest just $1,000 one time into an account earning a 10% return a year. In year one, you earn 10% on that $1,000. So your total is now $1,100. But look at year two. You don't just earn another $100. No, you earn 10% on the new balance of $1,100. So you make $110, bringing your total to $1,210. Fast forward to year 10, and you're sitting at $2,594. The gains are literally generating their own gains. By year 30, with zero extra effort from you, that single $1,000 deposit has grown to $17,449. You only put in $1,000. That extra 16 grand, that is the snowball doing all the heavy lifting. Now, absolutely all of this relies on the single most critical variable in the entire wealth building equation, and that is time. Time isn't just some secondary factor here. Time is the main character of this whole story. Because compound interest totally relies on that compounding cycle repeating over and over and over again. Waiting to invest doesn't just cost you the cash you didn't put in, it literally costs you decades of potential compound growth. To really prove this, let's look at a pretty stark comparison between two different investors. We'll call them Sarah and Mike. So Sarah decides to start investing early at age 25. She puts in $300 a month for exactly 10 years. Then, at age 35, she just stops completely, doesn't add another dime. Her total out-of-pocket investment? $36,000. Now, let's look at Mike. Mike waits until he's 35 to even start. He also puts in $300 a month, but to make up for lost time, he keeps investing that $300 every single month for 30 years straight. Mike's total out-of-pocket investment is $108,000. I mean, he invested 3 times as much of his own hard-earned cash as Sarah did. Assuming they both get that same 10% historical average return from the US stock market, who do you think actually ends up with more money at retirement? Well, Sarah wins. And guys, she doesn't just win by a little bit, she wins by an absolute landslide. Sarah's retirement account ends up sitting at roughly $880,000. Mike's account, it's at $570,000.
Even though Mike invested 3 times more of his own money, he could literally never catch up to Sarah. Why? Because the money Sarah invested at 25 had an extra full decade to trigger compounding. Every single year you wait to start investing, you are destroying the exponential compounding that would have been happening decades down the line.
Honestly, seeing those numbers is usually a huge wake-up call. But, understanding the math is really only half the battle. The big question is, how does a regular person actually pull this off? So let's pivot from the data and get into a really concrete tactical playbook. This is exactly how everyday people go from zero to millionaire. All right, here is your actionable checklist. Number 1, start now. Seriously, even if you only have $50 a month to spare, starting small today mathematically crushes starting big 10 years from now. Number 2, use tax-advantaged accounts. If your job offers a 401k match, or if you can open a Roth IRA, you gotta use them. They let your money compound without the IRS taking a slice of the pie every single year. Number 3, automate your transfers. Do not rely on willpower. Trust me, people who successfully build wealth set up automatic transfers from checking straight to their investments, and they literally just forget about it. Number 4, reinvest everything. Dividends, interest, gains, any money your investments produce goes straight back in. That is how you keep the snowball rolling instead of melting. And finally, number 5, do not touch it. The absolute number 1 wealth killer isn't picking a bad stock. It's panic selling during a market dip and interrupting that beautiful compounding process. Just look at how all of those steps come together over a lifetime. Say you invest $500 a month from age 25 to 65, and you average that 10% return. You're going to retire with roughly $3.1 million. But check out this breakdown. The actual money you contributed out of your own paycheck over those 40 years, just $240,000. The vast, overwhelming majority of your retirement fund, $2.86 million, is purely the result of compound interest doing the heavy lifting for you while you just went about living your life. Okay, as mind-blowing as this all sounds, we do need to bring things down just for a second for a quick reality check. Because I am absolutely not here to pretend this is some kind of magic wand. There are a few very honest truths about long-term investing that you really have to accept if you want this to work. Here's the mindset you've got to adopt. First off, markets do not go up in a straight line. Never have, never will. There will be years where you open your account and see red, not green. Second, that 10% number we've been using, that's a long-term historical average of the stock market. It is absolutely not a guaranteed yearly return. Third, and this is super important, this is a get-rich-slow scheme. The whole strategy is inherently, intentionally boring. And honestly, that's exactly why most people never do it. We are biologically wired to crave fast results, but compound interest strictly rewards absolute patience over instant gratification. Which brings us to this famous piece of wisdom. The best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. The everyday people who become millionaires using this method, they aren't necessarily smarter than anyone else. They didn't have some top secret information. They simply realized that time was their greatest asset and they just started earlier. They planted the seed and they let time do all the work. So I want to wrap up this explainer with a direct challenge to you. If the math literally proves that a 25-year-old investing just $300 a month can retire with almost $1 million, what is actually stopping you from starting this month? Not next year, not when things finally settle down, not when I make a little more money. What is stopping you right now, today? Really think about it. Start today and let's see just how big your snowball can get.